That's not.
Want to go deeper with Lobbing Scorchers? You know, scratch under the surface, get down even dirtier than we already get. Become a YouTube member. Sometimes things just get a little too spicy, a little too weird, and a little too loose for the general public. And you know, the people to see that are YouTube members. We're talking about exclusive bonus videos, the podcast after show, exclusive written content, and little bits and pieces of information before the unwashed masses know about it. As a member, you not only get access to all of this amazing content, you get a badge next to your name and a slew of amazing emotes to use, not only in our live stream chat, but also in our comments section. And yes, we do have an emote for Jesus Ferreira, Go Snack, and Paul Rothrock. This is the best way to help keep us independent and keep us building out this crazy YouTube brand that we call Lobbing Scorchers. Hit the join button down below or hit the link in the top of our description if you're on mobile to join the ranks and become a Lobbing Scorchers YouTube member.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have terrible Wi-Fi. I'm out here in Maui, Hawaii, reporting live. We take no days off. Luis Suarez, a man who has been marred by controversy day in, day out, yesterday, today. First, it was biting twice. Then it was racism. And now it's spitting on an elderly individual. I am joined here by Sound at Heart Overlord, Jeremiah Oshan, who's going to be taking the reins of this live stream. Chat, first of all, how are we feeling? Second of all, Jeremiah, how are you feeling? Why don't you break down the news that was just announced? Luis Suarez banned some additional matches, so maybe you can kind of walk us through the whole situation for those who don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so thanks for having me on here and doing a little cross-title promotion here. Very exciting. It feels like I'm a comic book hero. This is like an X-Men X Factor situation, I think. Anyway, so yeah, Luis Suarez gets 3 additional games. Steven Lenhart, who is officially the Sounders' mental skills coach, he gets his credentials revoked from the game. Essentially, he cannot go in the locker room. He can't be in the tunnel. He can't be on the sideline or anywhere on the field for the rest of the season. And that's it. Oh, wait. No, actually, I take it back. The Sounders also get fined for, quote, misappropriation of credentials, meaning essentially the league is saying that Lenhart should not have been on the field, that his credentials were not, he was not needed for, his responsibilities did not include anything that required him to have field credentials, essentially. And so normally there's a lot of people who have those types of credentials that are not necessary, but you get involved in a fight when you're not supposed to be there. That's going to have some repercussions, apparently. I would imagine the Sounders' perspective was, why are you punishing us? This is a Leagues Cup matter. Shouldn't that just be stuck to Leagues Cup? Neither here nor there. That's what it is. Not a lot. Like, I think most of us are surprised. Mainly that Sergio Busquets gets away essentially scot-free. He got 2 games for Leagues Cup, and Tomas Aviles also got 3 games for Leagues Cup. But Busquets probably might not even play in next year. So if he doesn't play next year at all on his own accord, he's essentially not being punished at all. And it was really his punching of Obed Vargas that is what kickstarted this entire situation. A little weird to me that he didn't get suspended. I can only guess that the league is essentially taking the position that there are 2 things that happened here that went beyond a sort of normal post-game fight, if there's a such thing. But the normal post-game fight, that's something that can be dealt with in Leagues Cup. It's the stuff that goes into harming the reputation of MLS and turning this into an international incident and a story that is getting all these headlines. Luis Suarez, of course, he's the reason. It's his activity, his actions that are the most egregious and need to be punished. 3 games feels a little light to me, but I'm not gonna. I don't know. We don't have to quibble with that right now. And everyone else was sort of a tit for tat thing. Look, if you're going to suspend Tomas Aviles, shouldn't you spend Jackson Reagan or John Bell? And you can kind of go down the list. Maxi Falcone, Weingant. You can there's a whole bunch of Miami players who, in my book, were the instigators and the ones that were sort of turning this into a fight, a real fight. And the Sounders were mostly defending themselves and responding. But, I guess MLS is saying they don't want to relitigate all that, essentially.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think some people are probably shocked. I'm seeing some comments here. This is horse shit. Dempsey should have gotten 3. He assaulted a ref. Yeah, just like, I mean, there's good thing Suarez apologized. I guess a jab in the face is legal in the MLS. So, I mean, is this an expected response? I mean, did we ever really expect MLS to give? Is this light in your
It feels light. It definitely feels a little light to me. I would have expected, I thought what Leagues Cup handed down was sort of like the baseline, and that MLS isn't necessarily looking at it as a baseline. They're really looking at it as the, really the core part of the punishment. And this is just whatever they had to add on that they felt was extra egregious. I think that's an interesting position to take. Not what I would have expected. I think MLS sort of did what the bare minimum was to say, look, we did something. And I don't think doing nothing was never really, I don't think that was a viable option. I don't think MLS viewed it as a viable option. I think MLS does to some, I think they take seriously that that having one of their players spit on a team staff is horrible. It's horrible. It's very, very bad. And I don't know that and I think they knew immediately that they were going to have to do something. And then this is sort of the least they could do situation. I don't think that this is going to get most people that are going to commentate on this are probably going to say it's light, that it wasn't enough. I think they're right. I agree with them. So I don't know. It feels like MLS is a little in the splitting the baby situation here. And I can't help but think a lot of it is just to make Miami happy, to not irk Miami a little bit. I don't know. Maybe Messi is even going. I don't want to guess too much, but I don't think Miami was going to take this lying down. You see their statement, which was admitting literally no fault. They did not say they did anything wrong at all. They barely even acknowledged that something happened. And I think that was pretty indicative of what Miami's position was. Sergio Busquets has not issued any kind of apology or any other kind of public statement. I don't think he will. And frankly, if he doesn't feel bad for it, then fine, whatever. Don't apologize. You can be judged by the people that will judge you. And apparently the league wasn't inclined to do that. So that's where we are. But I can't fault anyone for saying that this feels light.
I've heard some people talk about the Miami. I mean, just initially talk about, oh, this is they're sucking up to Messi. They're doing all of this kind of stuff. And I really do think you're right. Inter Miami teed this up perfectly. Not only did they never admit fault, in the post-game presser, you had the head coach of Inter Miami, who I'm blanking on his name right now because he's just not that important.
Mascherano.
Mascherano goes, oh, well, this was provoked. And
right.
Listen, this is reading between the lines, but the fact that Lenhart received such a harsh suspension, I have a feeling that Inter Miami asserted that he was an instigator and the reason why all of this kicked off, which I think is a bit ridiculous because there's no way. I understand that he is known to be that kind of player in his days, but if you watch the brawl, if you watch what happened, which you can go watch, it's over on the Pulso Sports YouTube channel. Shout out to Nico Moreno, one of our favorites over here. It doesn't start there. And very clearly Suarez gets hot and made a decision to spit on someone. Tomis Aviles makes a decision to start throwing punches. Sergio Busquets starts throwing punches. This has nothing to do with that. And for me, personally, if you are throwing a punch at the end of a game or during a game, you should be suspended. You should be suspended.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
And if Leagues Cup is going to decide, hey, we're going to suspend you for Leagues Cup, which I'm sorry, it's a tournament that is really not important in terms of if you suspend someone just for a tournament, especially players who are never probably going to play in that tournament again, that's a little ridiculous. And I think MLS knows that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I don't have any real I think that's totally right. I can't blame anyone for feeling like Miami got off here, and it does seem, and it's sort of coded in every statement they've put out, including Suarez, who said something awful happened, and then I didn't like how I reacted. He's essentially saying Obed Vargas asked for it, or Gene Ramirez asked for it, or something. Like he couldn't help himself but to spit, and maybe spitting was inappropriate, but like, look, they were talking to me. They beat me. How dare they? How dare they? How dare they think that they can talk to me in any way?
I think it's pretty wild too that this has become the full story around this, and unfortunately, it just seems a little bit too predictable for what this team has become known for, which in my opinion has been just pushing the limits of the rules at every possible opportunity, and MLS allowing them to bend the rules. And this is inevitably what happens, right? Like, you get to a point where they feel invincible and then they become invincible. And I don't want to be like a little bit insane and irrational, but it really does feel like that, with the signing of Rodrigo de Paul, they were able to push the boundaries of the spending limits, which truly is like good for MLS, because they would like to add more players of his caliber. And I understand the reasoning why they're kind of letting that go. And that's the new method, is the loan method. But with something like this, it's really an embarrassment, man. And like, you have the entire world looking at this incident and going, he should never play soccer again. Like, I've seen more people say he should never play soccer again than siding with Luis Suarez. Because
no, I would totally agree. I totally agree. At this point, this is a player who has repeatedly done extra non-soccer type of things, whether it's biting or using racist language or spitting on people, that make you question whether he should be involved in any professional soccer league, let alone MLS this season. And I think that's, I can't help but feel like MLS went really, really light on him. And it seems very coincidental that Miami seems to get away with more than everybody else. I have a hard time believing that if it was Jesus Ferreira spitting on a random Miami staffer, that he would only get 3 games. It just doesn't strike.
I mean, you've got 2 matches for throwing a ball in the general direction of a fan. Regardless of how you feel about that, that's the bar there.
It's a very similar level of punishment for seemingly a much more egregious crime, for lack of a better term.
You've got to take into account the history of the player. I think that's truly where for me, where this lands, because if you're in a court, right? If you have priors, if you're coming in there, you're like, yeah, I've been in and out of jail a lot of times for, killing people, and then you kill another person, they're going to throw even more of a book at you, because you've clearly never learned your lesson. Suarez is old, man. He's probably not even going to be playing in the league anymore. Just suspend him the rest of the season. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. This just MLS bullshit, man. I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm annoyed by it, but I guess I'm also not protected. Kenny is saying here, this ties the record for longest total suspension in North American history. What is
9 games? He's saying 9 games.
Yeah.
So I guess, because I assume that's comparing him to Brian Mullen, who got, I thought Brian Mullen got 10 games actually for breaking Steve Zakuani's leg. But
yeah,
I mean, I suppose if you look at it that way, that could be true. That feels like a little bit of a loophole, because it depends on if he actually plays next season. If he doesn't play next season, he hasn't really been suspended 9 games.
He's been suspended 3, right?
Right.
So I mean, that's. I think it's a little bit ridiculous to take any of those Leagues Cup games into account, because again, like, that's a tournament that tournament may not even happen. I mean, it's supposedly.
My suspicion is it will happen, and I suppose it's possible that Suarez is back. And I don't want to make it sound like I mean, Miami clearly cared enough about this tournament to get all crashing out over it, right? So
Yeah.
and I don't want to diminish that aspect of it, but ultimately there's a very real possibility that Suarez is done after this year. Busquets seem even more likely to be done after this year. So to have them both serving the bulk of their suspensions next season when they may or may not be back does feel really flaccid.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly it too. Kenny cooking today. Clint Dempsey got the same thing and didn't serve his Open Cup bans. So it's like, what does it matter? What does it
Right.
matter? And I guess we don't know if Miami was fined or were they fined?
No, I don't think no. So no one got there were no fines from the league other than to the Sounders for the misappropriation of credentials, essentially. Which I don't know. Maybe we want to talk about that too.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk about that, Steven. I guess let's explain who the Sounders.
Yeah, so Steven Lenhart, which I guess this flew under the radar. We reported on it back in April when he first started showing up at trainings that he had been hired, and there was sort of an unofficial title at the time, and we were just basically told he's taking care of the mental side of the game, essentially. And I guess he was eventually hired formally, and he is technically listed as, or his technical title is mental skills coach, although he's not technically part of the coaching staff. He is a staffer with the team, and he doesn't really have any game day responsibilities. He's not supposed to be, he's not part of Brian Schmetter's coaching staff. He's not there giving feedback in real time. And he works mostly with players at training and after training, and he does do a lot of work with them. And best I can tell, he's really popular. He is someone who is constantly playing soccer tennis with the guys. He's, doing rondos. He's one of the guys. He's essentially one of the guys. And then afterwards he does mental skills work with them. And on it, and to be fair to him, the Sounders turnaround this season actually coincides really neatly with when we started seeing him out there. Around mid-April is when he started showing up, and that's almost exactly when the Sounders turnaround started. So I don't want to diminish the value that Steven Lenhart has had to the Sounders. I know that he is a very unpopular person among certain Sounders fans, especially Sounders fans that go back 10 years or more, because there was a time when he was like one of the top villains in the league. He was, back in 2012, when the Earthquakes won their Supporters Shield, him and Alan Gordon were known as the Bash Brothers, and they were part of this, Goonies Earthquakes team, and he was notorious for dirty play and doing all kinds of off-ball shenanigans. And I don't want to rewrite, retcon his past, but he does seem to have legitimately come around and rediscovered himself and gone through a lot of personal work. And everyone likes this guy. Even back then, everyone liked him. Brad Evans, I remember talking to Brad Evans a fair amount about him. And Brad, even at that time, would say, no, that he's a really good guy. I don't like playing against him. He's a piece of shit on the field. But no, we're good friends. I like him a lot. He's just a good person. Anyway, fast forward to now, and he seems to have found a place with the Sounders and seems to be doing good work. But he was undeniably involved in this incident, and some people, I think reasonable minds can differ whether or not what he did was appropriate. In my mind, what he was doing was he was first trying to pull players out of it, and then once he sort of started taking blows, he was giving blows back. And that's sort of what happens. I don't really blame him for that, but from the league's perspective, he shouldn't have been on the field. And if he was on the field, he needed to be responsible enough to not get involved. I mean, this is sort of, I don't even know it would be like a player that was that wasn't suited up getting involved. So a plainclothes player getting involved, I think, is probably the league's perspective on this. And that feels harsh. I don't really agree with that, especially since it was Leagues Cup. It seems like the Sounders should get a pass there, but that's sort of where we are with Lenhart. But yeah, he's essentially banned from being in the locker room, being in the tunnel, and being on the field for the rest of the season. And then he has to apply for reinstatement next year.
It seems a little bit heavy considering the the 3 games that Suarez.
I agree. I mean, I think a lot of people look at this and they don't necessarily differentiate between how meaningful is it. Like, it's not really that meaningful, I don't think, for Lenhart to be kicked off the sideline.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's the optics of him getting 5 games from Leagues Cup and then this.
It's
And
probably
that makes it seem like it's almost as bad as Suarez, who is just getting 6 games and 3 games. He's getting more, and on paper it looks like he's getting more of a punishment than Sergio Busquets or Thomas Aviles, or not to mention all the other Miami players.
Alcon was not suspended in any of the incidents. Exactly. I think I don't know. I think it's interesting. First of all, I have to say, chat. We got 140 people in here watching, enjoying. But we only have like 10 likes. Like, what are we doing? Hit the like button. It's free. Jeremiah came and spent time out of his day to come here and explain this whole situation. And that's just like, what are we doing? Come on, pick it up. Then I also want to thank Derek Richards for the 149 super sticker. You're a super sticker, Derek. We love you. And Kenny says, Lenhart married to sister of ex-Sounder Alan Moffat. Okay.
Yeah, Adam Moffat. But yeah, I don't know if they are still together or not, but I know that there was a time when they are, I don't know. But Adam Moffat, funny story, is the color announcer for Sacramento Republic, and we actually interviewed him on our podcast last year as a preview to the Sacramento Republic game. And I'll even share a little bit of breaking news just because we're having fun here. Apparently Cody Baker is getting loaned to Sacramento Republic.
Okay.
Yeah. So
breaking news, and we'll chat. Breaking news. We'll have to report that on our Instagram as well here. So this is what you get for watching Lobbing Scorchers. So you better like that. Breaking news. Thank you so much, Jeremiah, for breaking that news here. Deserves a like and a super chat. And let's also say sounderatheart.com/LS.
Yeah, if you want that good content.
And I have to say that we knew about this. If you were in the Sounder at Heart Discord, you knew about the suspension before it was reported on. Yeah, so I will say, go to sounderatheart.com/LS, subscribe to the second tier, I believe.
The supporter tier.
Supporter tier, and you get access to that Discord. You get a bunch of awesome information, just like this. Well, Jeremiah, I do want to hit a couple other things. I know we briefly talked about this, but Rosie brings it up, and I think that it's another interesting thing to talk about, which is Busquets punched Obed Vargas and is getting nothing in league play. So I know we talked about it a little bit, but like, what?
I don't have a good explanation for that. Like I said, the only logic, to the degree that there is logic being applied here, is that somehow the physical altercations, like the punching and pushing and grabbing and headlocking and throwing and all that stuff, is sort of in the again, this is me interpreting it, but I think what they're saying is all that stuff is within the realm of the Leagues Cup Disciplinary Committee's purview, and they gave their punishments for those things, and none of those things rise to the level that they need additional punishment. Whether or not that was sufficient, that's not the league is not trying to relitigate what the Leagues Cup Disciplinary Committee did. What they are saying is these are the things that go beyond what the league, like, this is stuff that goes beyond this competition, that this is bigger. And they're essentially just saying that Luis Suarez and Steven Lenhart are the only two people who acted outside of, that did anything that warrants outside punishment. Now, I disagree with that, but I suppose there's an odd consistency in a weird way, because I suppose you could have said, why didn't Jackson Reagan get a Leagues Cup suspension? Why didn't John Bell get a Leagues Cup suspension? Why didn't, I don't know who else was maybe involved in ways that raised some cackles? But this, in the same way that Maxi Falcone did not get suspended, that Weingart didn't get suspended. And so I guess what the league is saying is like, look, if we don't want to relitigate all this shit. It's just the spitting incident and a non-player being as involved as he was. And that, I think it's fair to say that Lenhart was the most notable non-player to be involved in this whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know what to say about it at this point. Like it is MLS trying to, I think they're like, we don't even want to deal with this. It's a Leagues Cup thing. You can't run away. You legitimately can't run away from the Suarez incident just seemingly because it is such international news and the rest of it. It's like, I feel like the off-field secondary thing of, okay, well, Lenhart shouldn't have been on the field, so let's do that to just be like, okay, It's an even suspension. It's even. We're even. You guys make up and kiss, and you're playing next week. So
right. Yeah, and I think selfishly, I think as Sounders fans, the main thing that would have been really unacceptable, at least from my perspective, was if Suarez were allowed to play in the Sounders game. Like that would have just been too much. Like that would have just been insult to injury. But also, we got the trophy. We won. I don't think anyone no non-partisan looks at what happened after the game or during the game and thinks anything but the Sounders behaved understandably, but also better. They were the winners. They were the ones who get to say, we're the Leagues Cup champions and you're not. We got to have our day in front of 70,000 fans and you didn't. You had to take the loser's medal and walk through our phalanx of players while essentially being booed at the stadium. Like, is that like, I get the pettiness. I feel the same, but at the end of the day, the Sounders got everything they wanted from this. They come out looking, I think going into this game, you would have found a lot of fans that would have said, I'm rooting for Team Meteor. I don't care. I don't like Miami, but I don't really love the Sounders either. And I think by the end of that one, I think the Sounders, even if it's grudgingly, I think a lot of people respected the whole operation.
I agree. I think it's at the end of the day, whether the suspension is correct or not, the Sounders win the trophy. They create an ultimate crash out. This is like, you're seeing Messi absolutely be destroyed and demolished as well in the media right now. I mean, not only did he, allegedly say some things to certain players, and then after that, not only, if you watch his last match against Venezuela, he at halftime was going after Venezuela players in the
I missed that.
So
that's good.
He is fully crashing out as
out,
well. It is crumbling of Inter Miami, and what a great team to have this
send them
happen.
on their way.
Send them away.
And that's the thing, is that it's like we can get worked up and we can spend emotional energy saying that Miami should have been punished more, and I think we're correct in believing that. But I do think there is an element of it's counterproductive to waste your emotional energy on wanting someone else to be punished for something you've already gotten the best of. And I'm not going to begrudge, again, no, I'm not begrudging anyone for saying that Miami deserves more than they got, because they do. I think that's undeniable, that they are getting away with a lot here. But what are they? But in another sense, what are they really getting away with? They look like dumbasses. They look like crybabies. The mask has been pulled off their whole operation. They look like they're just trying to buy trophies, and they're not doing a very good job of doing it. And I suppose if they go on and win MLS Cup, maybe they get the last laugh. But right now, where we sit, they look like shit, and that's honestly worth more than the suspensions.
It is. I mean, their club is falling apart. They are. I don't know. What else can you say? They're trash. That team is gonna. Can you imagine when Messi leaves? When all these fellas leave, what is going to be left there? What is going to be left there?
I have been asking this question for a long time, and I don't see them building anything that strikes me as sustainable. They will have the stadium that will open next year that will provide presumably some sort of boost. But I mean, that will still be with Miami. But what do they do next? I mean, they'll still have Messi. But what do they do next? What's the next step? Because you can sign the next Luis Suarez. I don't think that would be so hard to do, whoever that might be. You can find another Sergio Busquets level player. You can find another Di Maria. You can find all these pieces, but there is no other Messi. There is no way of replicating Messi. I mean, I suppose you could maybe try to sign why am I blanking on the guy's name that is Real Madrid? Mbappe. Like you could maybe sign, that would be the next.
Or Neymar.
But the drop down from Messi to Mbappe is massive. And I say this as someone who loves watching Mbappe play. He is not the same level of star. And so I just don't know how you go about replicating this and how you turn this into like a sustainable project. And that's what it is. It's a project. Whereas, and I do think it's been really satisfying to see the contrast between the way the Sounders have really built an organization and that Miami tried to buy trophies. The Sounders have an academy that is producing players at maybe not all-star levels, but producing a lot of MLS quality players. They have a pro player pipeline that is routinely moving one or two, even three players a year into the first team, and who are useful, important players. You know, you see De Rosario had the season, had the tournament that he had. And, you know, I just think that in a lot of ways, the Sounders are showing you how to do it. And Miami is showing you how to try to take shortcuts and why shortcuts don't always work.
And, you know, I think you said it before, but they're doing MLS 1.0. They're doing the David Beckham method, and the Sounders are doing modern
I don't
football.
think it was me that came up with that, but that's good. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're doing the David Beckham method, and the Sounders are doing every other modern football team across the world that's successful,
right.
Which is we need to look at what they're doing. The new PSG model. They went from like PSG's old model where they signed Messi and all of the Barca boys basically, and then they were shit. What happened when they started signing local kids and they really drove into, I mean, they also have some really incredibly talented players, so it's not a great comparison, but you can see the comparison, and it's just it's awesome. I
totally agree.
We're doing that. Well, chat, listen, we've been on here for 32 minutes. I feel like we've basically beat a dead horse, but if you guys have any last questions for me or Jeremiah, whether it's on this topic or anything related that's been brought up, maybe the Cody Baker loan, you can drop that. Please like the video, and also go and check out Sounder at Heart, obviously. But yeah, if you guys have any other questions, we can hit those. I don't know. Someone said, "Where's my lay?" Well, I didn't get one. Maybe you guys can buy me one with some super chat money. Ooh, was that sick?
What are the day? I know I missed that. What are the days of when you would just get off a plane in Hawaii and they just throw a lay on you?
I don't know.
Used to be a proper country.
The game's gone. Yeah, it did actually used to be its own proper country. And then, you know, colonialism happened. Chat, should we talk about the history of Hawaiian colonialism?
Right, I know.
Should I go to
get into that whole thing?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not seeing many more questions here.
No, it seems like a lot of bickering in
bickering,
chat,
but I think
that's usually how it goes, right?
Yeah, we can leave it at this. My name is Jade, not a guy. I don't know what's happening.
I've been sort of following the chat. There is a dispute happening.
Okay, well, this is what we're going to leave it on. 3-0. The Seattle Sounders win Leagues Cup. Messi crashes out. Suarez suspended. We appreciate you all. Ari will go watch kickoff from this morning. Ari will be live on Thursday. No podcast this week because obviously I'm in Hawaii. But
someone's asking about stickers. We have sent some stickers out. I don't know if I sent them or not, but we'll send more. Don't worry.
Get your stickers soon at some point. Well, thanks everyone for watching. Jeremiah, do you have anything to shill? No Sadieta?
Just subscribe to Sounder at Heart. You know, it's a good value. We have sort of unofficially adopted a more NPR model where almost all our content is in front of a paywall, but we want your support as much as ever. This is what makes the machine work. And we're constantly expanding and looking for new types of coverage. And it's stuff like this that, we want to support. So,
yep, you are supporting Lobbing Scorchers by supporting Sounder at Heart.
and
Follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok, subscribe to the YouTube, hit us with a like, and we will see you all next time. Peace out, chat.
see ya.
Some people come to Lumen Field for the tactics, for the soccer, the atmosphere, and some come for Paul Rothrock's hair. Me personally, I come for both, because I have agendas to push. Live soccer isn't just better, it's way more personal. From making friends to becoming the guy in your section that's just constantly yelling about advanced statistics. Get tickets to any Sounders match by visiting lobbingscorchers.com/tickets. You support the pod, our agendas, the vibes, and the chaos.